Oh my sweet mother of all that is good and pure. I really, really wish I had gotten this a little sooner. Please don't punish me with no one watching this because I just did a ratings video, but this is so ridiculous, so massive, and fits in really well with what I just did. Like I said, I wish I had had it. I would have just put them together in one video. My apologies for that. But we just got, if you didn't see that ratings video, it was about ratings with and without Clark for the Fever that we actually are starting to see a serious dent, as well as compared to the WNBA. And now this this reinforces it with a freaking hammer. This reinforces it with Thor's freaking hammer. Are you kidding me with this number? NBC Peacock just came in with something massive. Now I want to say before I reveal this, Wings Liberty, NBC has had two games. Wings Liberty 1.3 million. Aces Valkyries 984,000. So outside of the Indiana Fever, those are the cream of the crop, I would say, for the WNBA, right? The Dallas Wings, Paige Beckers, the New York Liberty are probably maybe with the Aces, although I think probably a little higher, like the franchise outside of Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever. Aces, of course, Asia Wilson, and Valkyrie's sort of the golden child from the Golden State of the WNBA being a new franchise that people have latched onto, right? So those are pretty massive. Well, we just got the Indiana Fever and the Aces. This is the game with Caitlin Clark. You ready for this? NBC and Peacock deliver most watched WNBA game of 2026 season with Fever Aces on Sunday night basketball. They don't even put, here we go. Game averaged total audience delivery of 2.64 million viewers, peaking at 2.8 million viewers. Are you kidding me right now? It is the most watched WNBA regular season Sunday game since 1998. Second most watched WNBA regular season game since 2000. That is insane. It is NBC Sports averaging 1.5 million viewers for its four WNBA games on NBC and Peacock this season, up 71% versus comparable coverage last season, and the most of any WNBA media partner. That is absolutely insane. And again, think of the numbers that we have gotten for the Fever without Caitlin Clark. Now, we don't have a direct comparison of a Sunday NBC sports, but I mean, CBS, ABC, obviously huge. CBS 2.6 million with Caitlin Clark, 1.5 million without Caitlin Clark. The video I just did, Amazon Prime, I think it was ranged from 663,000 to 816,000, I think, for four Prime games with Caitlin. And then their game they just did without Caitlin got 436,000, right? Massive, massive, massive drop. Um, and now we see this people finally, right? That Caitlin Clark missed a lot. Yeah, she had played the game previously on restricted minutes. She was going to be unrestricted again, but supposedly get a few more minutes. People want to watch Caitlin Clark. I don't understand how that cannot be made more clear to the WNBA. And yet they want to destroy her, which we're going to get into a little bit more right now. We have seen at every turn, whether it's the WNBA itself or the Indiana Fever organization or other players in the league, time and time and time again, trying to diminish Caitlin Clark, trying to injure Caitlin Clark, trying to humble Caitlin Clark, trying to turn her into another typical WNBA player out of petty jealousy, but the Wall Street Journal just put out an article that went a lot harder into the darker truth that people don't want to talk about as much as any of the other stuff. It says in the Wall Street Journal article, the WNBA's problem with Miss Clark isn't her behavior or her fans. It is. I think it is, but I think they're making a point of there's something even more. It's more immutable than that. She's a straight, non-tan girl in a league whose players, according to The Ringer, are primarily black and openly queer. This makes Miss Clark's success a threat to what some think the WNBA should be. Not a financially independent basketball league, but a political organization with an activist agenda and a players' social justice council. I know it's like a third rail touching that sort of topic, but it's hard not to agree that that is at least maybe not the thing, maybe not even the majority thing, but it's definitely a significant part of everything we have been seeing with the WNBA and Caitlin Clark when you think of how she's been treated and when you think of what the league was before, as we've talked about in the past. They were very cool with no fans and no ratings. They got to do what they wanted to do to the point where, and shout out to CJ at the W360, I believe, is the one who coined the whole, they're more interested in humping than hooping. And they got to do that. Hooping was the excuse to get money from the NBA. By the way, black women didn't build the WNBA. The NBA built the WNBA. And they were cool. They're like, we're going to get some money for the NBA. We know we'll shout women, oppression, all that stuff. They'll give us a basketball league, and they're going to cover the losses. So we don't need to bring in normal sports fans. We can just bring in our people and have these parties, and the basketball is kind of the entertainment aspect of the party. That's kind of what the WNBA has been. We saw a whole lot more of that starting in 2020. We know the Atlanta Dream owner who was made the very simple, request, demand, or what have you of its players, say, hey, let's focus on basketball and not activism. And she was forced out of ownership, which, by the way, is why you see Renee Montgomery all the time. She's sort of the very, very tiny owner face of the Atlanta Dream. Now, what's really interesting when it talked about too is it contrasts the WNBA's handling of Miss Clark with FIFA's star making during the World Cup. If you'd ask an American sports fan 3 weeks ago to name a big international soccer player, you'd likely have gotten Lionel Messi, maybe Cristiano Ronaldo for an answer, and that would be about it. The World Cup has been a success in part because it has introduced Americans to a slew of soccer personalities they hadn't previously met. Norway's Erling Haaland, France's Kylian Mbappe, and England's Jude Bellingham and Harry Kane. Now, I know who all of them are, but I've been involved in soccer my whole life. Normal sports fans in America, even maybe sports fans of MLS soccer, don't know who they are. Now, Erling Haaland, I always say Holland is where but that's like the country. Anyway, he has become, I think, maybe out of everyone in the World Cup, this just now he's been a star, obviously in the rest of the world for the world sport, but he has become a massive, massive, massive star now in America. And the reason I want to focus on him, because think of this really connects to the WNBA. First of all, he's phenomenal, right? Like if you've ever watched him play, yeah, he is one of the best players in the world, if not right now, the best player in the world. But you know what else he is? And you know one of the reasons he's gotten so much coverage and so many people have been drawn to him? He is quite possibly right now the nicest sports star in the freaking world. He is humble, he's funny, he's relatable, he's likable, he appreciates his fans, he acknowledges his fan. Like the guy does everything right. It's almost annoying. And because of that, not just because of his ability, but because of that, he is, I mean, it's crazy to say he's a superstar because he was, but now he's a superstar with American fans. Now, contrast that to what we get in the WNBA in terms of so many of these players, which hits to what the Wall Street Journal is saying, right? Caitlin Clark is Erling, right? But she came to a sport in America that no one's watching. Same thing with Erling, right? He's massively popular everywhere else, but you know, typical American sports fan doesn't know that. And to that point, right, there was something, I think it was Jeopardy. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments below. Maybe a couple weeks ago where the answer to something was Paige Beckers. They even showed you, I can't remember if it was a picture or a short video clip of Paige Beckers, and the answer was Caitlin Clark. Well, the incorrect answer given by the person was Caitlin Clark because that's who they know. And as much as y'all want to say Paige Beckers is a superstar, not in the bubble, yes, not to the rest of the general population. But these players in FIFA, you could go Tiger Woods in golf, and there were lesser before him, right? Especially sports like golf or tennis, they need their megastars. Bird, Magic, Jordan, sports the the big sports in America are going to have their baseline, and it's massive in terms of fans, but they need those superstars to really carry the day. Okay. And FIFA understands that. Soccer is superstars. Okay. And they get that and they've embraced that. And all of these other players know that what's great for those superstars is great for them as well. It gives them opportunities on and off the pitch. It gives them more money on and off the pitch, and they're good with it. But the WNBA is anything but. And again, I will bring you to Candace Wiggins. That's why I think the straight part is a bigger thing of the two, but it's definitely a combination. As it says here, FIFA seems to understand in a way the WNBA doesn't that superstars don't grow on trees. You don't get endless chances to make friends with American sports fans, to grow your audience, to hook people on your sport. You get a window and you have to find a way to jump through it before it closes. And it is starting to close because I'm getting more and more and more Caitlin Clark fans messaging me in the comments of the video saying, yeah, I'm out. I'm done. I've had enough. I'm not watching anymore. Maybe if things change, I'll come back. But even then, it's only watching Caitlin Clark games. I'm not even going to watch the Fever if Caitlin Clark isn't playing. The window is closing, WNBA, and you are going to have a new media, or you're going to have a media rights renegotiation in 2028. And it says here you promote your people, you put them on posters and on TV, you give them every chance to succeed. At the very least, you make sure other players don't think that they can get away with punching your superstar in the neck while she's lying defenseless on the ground. The WNBA's Caitlin Clark window is closing. The people who run that league have just about convinced the world that they'd rather play politics than basketball. And I think that is a massive, massive problem for the WNBA. We'll see what happens, but you can see what they can do when Caitlin Clark's involved. Let her be her. She is the one. She's going to get you everything you say that you want. And if you do what you want, if you reach your goal and you say, yeah, you run her out of the league, you change the way she plays, all that, it's all going to fall apart. The WNBA is just going to slide right back into irrelevancy. Anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Like, comment, subscribe. I will talk to you later.